I want to ask a question about what you said about healthcare in general. And I know it's a little bit difficult approaching it from a state perspective because the federal government has kind of frozen things and we don't really know what the future is going to look like right now. But when you start talking about using the power of the Attorney General's office to kind of increase the role of government in pricing and in healthcare and that sort of thing, is that...
Well, I don't think that's what I said. The Office of the Insurance Commission has very broad authority in terms of what decisions they make in terms of acting on requests for rate increases by health insurance companies. And they are to consider, he's supposed to consider something other than a narrow rate of return. He's supposed to consider programs that over the long term are going to reduce the cost of health care. He's supposed to be considering the state interest, the public interest. He's supposed to be, he obviously has to consider solvency. And what I'm saying here, and I'll just give you an example of something that the commissioner has done, which over time would reduce the cost of care, is he mandated Blue Cross and United essentially to do what's called the Chronic Care Initiative. The Chronic Care Initiative is a program in which they are dealing with patients who check out of the hospital, and particularly people, elderly, go into the hospital. What happens, they go out of the hospital, nobody is able to monitor their care, and so they go back into hospitals very quickly. They end up consuming a lot of healthcare dollars. So what he has mandated, for example, which is within his authority, is essentially the Blue Cross fund the cost of having a nurse practitioner or a physician's assistant in large group practices, essentially to be triaged, to coordinate the care with that patient. The patient is checked out of the hospital to make sure the patient is doing what the patient is supposed to do. Because in the long term, you end up reducing the cost of care because the patients are healthier. He has authority, as you can see. Recently, there was an article talking about how our system, because it's not transparent at all, has the effect of allowing some hospitals to receive 180% times Medicare for reimbursement from Blue Cross, whereas one other hospital might only get 80%. That was the report that was on the paper, which he has that authority to say, I want a more transparent system where basically the numbers are the numbers and we're not dealing with the artificial factors in terms of market position. I mean, it's pretty clear, at least he alluded to it in his report, that one of the reasons why you have such a disparate element in terms of the cost is because of market of Kane County Hospital. Now, I'm only saying that's when it's in his report. But the point is the Attorney General has a seat at the table with the insurance commissioner to basically be effecting types of changes that can drive down the cost of care and extend and make the care be more available to the public.
So correct me if I'm wrong here, if I understood what you said. You said one of those types of changes was encouraging more primary care.
Yes.
Yes. And even with the best of intentions, is it possible to do that from the top down, from the Attorney General's office?
Well, let me just talk to you in perspective, having been board chairman of a community hospital and dealing with the difficulty in attracting physicians who are performing primary care to the community, primary care being pediatricians, internists, family practice doctors. One of the real reasons it's difficult to attract them is if they go to Connecticut or Massachusetts to get paid the reimbursement rates for their practice is counterintuitive for somebody to settle here. And the other aspect of it is the only way that most of them can make a go of it is in practices where they might have to be dealing with 40 to 50 patients per day. And when you're dealing with 40 to 50 patients per day, for example, I went to my doctor and my doctor said, I want you to do a blood test. Nobody followed up to ever find out whether I did it or not because they can't do that. They don't have the resources. They're doing another 40 to 50 patients today. So when I'm getting back to, by way of example, bringing up this primary care issue, their question is how do you create policies that foster primary care, the growth of primary care, and the answer is you can do it through the reimbursement system by simply saying Blue Cross. Because Blue Cross's reimbursement system and United's, well, let's just simply say nobody knows clearly what it is because they don't ever explain it, because they don't want to and they don't have to. But the point is you could say, as part of your reimbursement, we want you, you're going to do this. We are going to get involved and say, we want you to do something about the supply of primary care docs in other jurisdictions, because in the long term, that's driving up our system's cost.
All right, thank you.
I'm curious what came first, the party or the candidacy? Did you decide to run for something as a moderate first, or were you planning to run as for Attorney General and found the moderate party to be a good fit?
I was a candidate for the General Assembly in 2008, an independent in House District 33. And at that time, I learned Ken Block, at that time, had created a political action committee. And I liked the focus on the 4 core issues because I felt that those were the reasons why I was running and the real reasons why I was interested in running further. So after I was second in a 3-way race in that district, the incumbent won with 39.5% of the vote, and the Republican took too many votes, so I did not win. I stayed in communication with Ken, and I followed the moderate party, and so yes, I supported the moderate party, and I was continuing to say I'm still interested in running for a position that I thought would make a difference. So the answer to your question is I learned of the moderate party before the current election, but I was involved with Ken and the Black PAC in 2008, and the determination of running was something, yes, I was going to run. The question is what I felt I could run for and really make a difference.
What do you think about immigration?
What do I think about immigration? Well, and this is my personal view because as a personal view, first of all, as the Attorney General, my job will be to enforce the laws of the United States and the laws of the state of Rhode Island. And that is my job. If I don't like the law, I can go to the legislature and maybe suggest at another time take another position. But it'll be my job to enforce the law. And if the law is E-Verify, then I enforce E-Verify. If the law, so that's my job. In terms of outside of my personal side, I think that obviously we are doing a lousy job policing our borders, and we're doing a lousy job in keeping track of people once they're in here, which seems to be hard to understand. And we should be able to do that. I think that's probably the best I'd answer. I got to enforce the law.
Anything opinion about Eric Wallen, the Republican candidate for Attorney General?
Well, I think at this stage in the campaign, I'd really rather talk about why I'm running and my qualifications and why I think I can be helpful to and that's really what I prefer. Okay?
Thank you guys so much.
Okay?